Hi, my name is Joe Giordano, not the painter, as probably a lot of you guys know. I'm the photo editor and staff photographer for the Baltimore City paper. Those are beautiful photos. These aren't. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit. And also, I wanted to thank Dr. Brown because he took my American apartheid thing. So I was like, oh, but I'm going to show you guys exactly what you were speaking of in facts. So I threw my whole speech out the window. So I'm going to have to go from the gut. Go ahead. Okay, so this is actually, this photograph is exactly what, Dr. Brown just keep bringing you up here. This is what we talked about. This was marching through the Federal Hill neighborhood. And the Federal Hill residents all stayed inside while the protesters went through. And it's an extremely white neighborhood. So when I'm out there at these protests, I try to get as close as I could to the action. I don't use zoom lenses, I use prime lenses. And Robert Capa said if it's not good enough, you're not close enough, and I tend to agree. This is a very important photo. A lot of people in the audience know that I was jumped on by the cops, beat on, got my wings, got hit in the head with shields and truncheons. This was a gentleman next to me. I never stopped shooting. They tried to take my camera, but I never stopped. And you can see him sorry, it's going through really fast. He was about to be hit with a truncheon, and I just kept shooting. These are scenes from Penn and North. These were two of the vehicles that were set on fire by a lot of the protesters, which really, the protests really didn't escalate until the police showed up in riot gear. I just want to make that clear. And for everyone that was following the protests, I would say 99% of all the protests were peaceful. So what you see here is a reaction to the police. Now, you're gonna lose it. Okay, sorry. In that last slide, this is me shooting through the windshield of a police car, but in that last slide, you can see the police. That's how close I was to the flames. Again, I don't have a zoom lens. So the police stood there at North and Penn and let these kids do all this damage while they leaned on their shields and laughed. This is all part of the North and Penn scene. So the police could have come down. They could have not shown up in riot gear. And I really think it would have diffused the situation. But their presence and the militarization of North and Penn really escalated the situation instead of diffusing it. This was a peaceful protest at the Western District, and again, this is how it started. Peaceful protests, people just kind of voicing their opinion, inventing, but the police didn't have riot gear on, and their protesters respected that. I noticed that all the way up until Saturday. This is a young man, him and his father came down to the Western District. I did see a lot of kids, which was both good and bad. I think it was really important to catch these kids. They were at an age where they were in between not really figuring out what was going on. This is one of my favorite photos that I took. This pretty much to me sums up how a lot of people see the riots. And it's essentially a child surrounded by guns with the National Guard. By the way, it's noted, and I took a photo of it, the National Guard had live rounds. If you follow me on Instagram, you would see I actually managed to sneak into the rallying point. Down by Raymond Stadium, and caught them putting live rounds into the magazines. These were scenes from a lot of the vandalism that went on around Camden Yards. That really didn't start until the sports fans started yelling racial epithets at the kids walking by. And if you think this is not an apartheid city, you should have been there for that, because this didn't start until the sports fans started yelling and throwing stuff at the kids, and that's how it started. And then the police showed up with, in the riot gear, and it just escalated completely out of control. These were given out, these were references to Trayvon Martin that were given out as stickers, a lot of the protesters. That's how close, the police weren't really big fans of me because I was constantly that close. I wasn't as obtrusive as it looks, but again, this is nighttime, and they're back in the riot gear, and it escalated into the looting that you guys saw. So this scene right here, how do I know how many seconds I have, Mike? I'm sorry. Okay. So this was the last photo that I took before the police jumped on me and the protester you saw. This was me not moving because I have a right to be there instead of the unarmed protester. But what you see, this is the militarization of Sandtown. There's about 150 cops. This is just one line that goes all the way back to about 20 protesters in the Sandtown neighborhood in front of the precinct. This was a military occupation. These are the kids throwing rocks at the police, reacting to the police advancing in the riot gear. And again, none of this happened until the police started advancing in riot gear. And I had to keep hammering that home because there's a lot of prejudice and there's a lot of assumptions about how this whole thing started. This was a tear gas deployment up at North and Penn on the media. This is the media being tear gassed. There was no other individuals there for this. This is because the media were doing their jobs, and shame on them. This was a protester up at Sandtown. If I can get back really quickly to the media slide, the police tried to pen the media into a certain area, which was both good and bad. It was good because it caught that gentleman, Mr. Lomax, being shot in the face. But it was bad because they tried to pen us into an area. My writer, my editor, Baynard Woods, called our legal department the night before. There's no law that says we have to abide by that. So we rolled around the city and we caught things like legal advisors being arrested, street medics being arrested, people sitting on their stoops being arrested. They didn't want us to see. That's what the threat of the media curfew was. So I'll be here for questions after, so thanks very much.